Well, a biryani is supposed to be eaten with your hands, rather your fingers. No spoons, no forks, no cutlery, nothing. Well, in my personal knowledge, biryani is also one of the oldest rice preparations from the Mughal era. Well, the major difference between a Lucknowi biryani and a Hyderabadi biryani, which actually defines the world of biryani in India, the difference comes in the masalas and the spices and also in the cooking technique. Well, a Lucknowi biryani is a pakki biryani and a Hyderabadi biryani is a kachi biryani. The pakki biryani or the Awadhi biryani is also cooked under dum. The method is traditionally called dum cook or cooking on low flame in its own steam. Well, if you want to learn a good quality classic Lucknowi biryani, let's head to the kitchen. Like most biryani recipes that I've shown you in the past, I'm dividing this recipe into two components. The first one, of course, is getting the rice in place. For this, I'm using regular water. This would be 4 to 5 times the quantity of rice. Let's flavor this with some whole spices, beginning with sticks of cinnamon, followed by black cardamom, some green cardamom, and finally some cloves and peppercorn. To this, I'm also adding in just a little bit of ginger, garlic, and green chili paste. Well, this would help in flavoring the rice right from within. To this, I'm also adding in salt, a little more, because the salt will of course get absorbed and the water gets drained out. Stir this well and allow this to roll boil on high flame. The idea of getting the quantity of salt right is absolutely imperative in this recipe because that really defines the quality of rice. The water needs to be salted as seawater, so remember that. The water's come to roll boil. Let's add in a long grain rice which is washed 3 times and soaked in water for 20 minutes. Once the rice kind of cooks to 3/4 doneness, it's imperative to start straining at the right time. We of course need a colander for this. With this, off goes the flame and the rice gets strained straight in a colander. It's absolutely imperative to get the doneness right because this rice is also going to get cooked further. If you're cooking something like a biryani for the first time, in my personal humble opinion, it's always advised to cook the rice a little lesser because if you end up cooking it more, it's going to get sluggish, almost like a pulao, even worse, a khichdi. Rinse this and bring it back because the next step revolves in this itself. Let's keep this aside and let's rinse the pan. The next component is making the spice mix, which in my opinion is the lifeline of this recipe. Well, if by any chance you're trailing around Lucknow or any of those parts, you can visit any of the pansaris, which are the kirana shops or the grocery stores, and you can pick up garam masala. Well, you have 2-3 varieties of garam masalas that I pick generally. I pick up a Lucknowi garam masala, and the second one that I love picking up is called a lazzat-e-tam. Well, lazzat-e-tam is used in your galati, it's used in a little bit in your kakori, it's used in your Lucknowi biryani, lots of those things. But what I'm doing is I'm creating like an instant garam masala, which is wonderful while making a Lucknowi biryani. The first ingredient are some peppercorns. To this, I'm adding in fennel seeds. Well, if you notice, the flavor of this is more towards the sweet side, more towards getting the flavors out than getting the heat in place. To this, I'm adding in a stick of cinnamon, some cloves, and some green cardamom. To this, I'm also adding in a piece of nutmeg. Well, this, however, is a very big piece of nutmeg. I've just chopped it down further and I'm using half of it. Well, the detailed recipe is there in the description box below for you to click and that will take you straight onto the detailed measurements. Next, I'm going to add in cumin seeds. You can also have 50% cumin and 50% shaha jeera or royal cumin. To this, I'm adding in mace or javitri. And finally to this, I'm adding in a bay leaf. Well, just cut it into pieces or just break it like so and add it into the grinder. Well, a lazzat-e-tam, like I mentioned, has a lot of ingredients. It also has things like khas ki jad, which of course adds a wonderful aroma to the biryani. If you can lay your hands on that, nothing like it. Let's grind these spices till they're absolutely fine. Well, here you'll notice and realize, in case the quantity is as much as I am taking, well, you'll realize that the spice is still a little gritty. To aid that, I'm adding in 2-3 more ingredients so that the quantity kind of increases. The first one is red chili powder. To this, I'm also adding in paste of ginger, garlic and green chilies. And to this, I'm also adding in some curds because, like I said, I'm just increasing the quantity. Well, this is the same measured portion of yogurt and I'm going to use the remaining while marinating the meat. Well, but this one is only and only to make this nice and smooth. Let's transfer all this into the meat. Well, the meat is taken into 2 parts. Of course, one is the meat per se, which is on bone. And here, I also like taking in goat fat, which adds in some wonderful fats into the biryani, which makes it nice and it gives it some chikas or some fat. To this, I'm adding in the remaining quantity of curds or yogurt, whatever you please and choose. And to this, finally, I'm going to add in some salt as required. Mix all of this well, and with this, your meat is ready to be marinated. You can keep this overnight, you can keep this for 2 hours, that's a complete personal choice. I personally like keeping this overnight. And now let's move on to the third component, and that is cooking the meat. For that, of course, we need onions. These are regular red onions. We need to slice these nice and thin. Onions, of course, are sliced and ready. The next step is cooking these. For this, I'm taking a mix of vegetable oil and ghee. Ghee, of course, for flavor. We're also going to reserve a little because we're going to add that later. First things first, I'm going to add in bay leaf and to this, sliced onions. The idea here is not to cook the onions till they turn golden brown in color. The idea here is to just sweat them because we need to kind of saute them along with the meat and the curds. The onions have begun to sweat. At this stage, I'm going to add in the marinated meat. And this needs to be cooked till the water or the moisture starts releasing from the meat itself. We need to stir this well on high flame for at least 2 to 3 minutes or till the ghee and oil just kind of starts releasing the sides of the pan. The next step is to cover this and place it to cook for 20 minutes on medium flame. Well, this is the time when the meat also starts releasing water or moisture, and that's important because the meat for 20 minutes is going to cook in the same liquid. Well, the quality of meat needs to be nice, sticky. It should not be slimy, it should not be gooey. It should be soft yet sticky because that's the quality of good quality meat. It's been 20 minutes and the meat is kind of semi-cooked. And also if you notice, it's released a lot of moisture. The next 20 minutes is all about cooking the meat till it's completely well done. But now I'm going to add in a cup full of water. We need to cover this and cook it till the meat is completely well done. Well, alternately, you can also use a pressure cooker and cook the meat till it's perfect. It's been 40 minutes and the meat should have perfectly cooked by now. Let's have a quick check. Well, here if you closely see, the meat of course has cooked beautifully well. The onions have kind of dissolved in the gravy. The fat has also started releasing on the sides. Well, this is the point now when you need to make the biryani absolutely nice and rich. The first thing that goes in is full fat milk. To this, I'm just making kind of richer and adding in some cream. Now this is regular dairy cream, also known as malai or balai as we call it in Lucknow. Well, this is where the entire flavor of the Awadhi or the Lucknowi biryani lies. To this, I'm adding in strands of saffron, followed by rose water, along with kevda or meetha attar. Stir this well and allow this to cook on high flame for just 3 to 4 minutes. The next is to add in the cooked rice. At this stage, we need to lower the flame and add in desi ghee. Along with the desi ghee, 2 optional ingredients. Well, this one is food grade orange color, and like I'm saying again, this is completely personal. I'm showing it to you because traditionally color is added, but of course it's a personal choice. You add it on one side like so, and similarly on the other side I'm going to add in yellow. The last and final step is to cover this and allow this to cook on absolutely low flame for 15 minutes. Well, the rice also needs to be shiny, it needs to be separate, it shouldn't be clogged up, and that's the beauty. A good quality biryani should be flavorful, sticky, and absolutely sumptuous. The time is up and a biryani is done and ready. This goes straight on the dinner table. Well, it's extremely important to be absolutely gentle with every grain of rice because that really, in a lot of ways, defines the way people perceive how a biryani tastes, or the quality rather. Legend has it that when the Bada Imambara was getting made by, of course, the Nawab of Lucknow, Asaf-ud-Daula, thousands of people were deployed to, of course, make it. What was served to them was biryani. It was a mixture of meat, vegetables and rice. One day, of course, who could resist the aroma of a fantastic biryani? When he was passing by, he asked his Khan Sama to create it for him. And that's how the biryani from the noble became part of the royalty. Isn't that fantastic and interesting and trivia? So here guys, this is me, the Bombay chef Varun Inamdar, signing off. For more such stunning recipes, stay tuned.